we'll be looking at sub-Saharan West African masks. As we zoom in on Africa and we look at this region, kind of the central west coast, looking a bit closer, you can see the coastline here, and we'll be looking at some masks from Congo, Cameroon, Nigeria, mostly this region here. So here's a Ohafia tribal mask from Nigeria. Dancers who wear masks become mediators between the living and spiritual world of the dead, mediators between ancestors and other entities. They're generally worn by a specially chosen dancer who gives them life. By wearing the mask and a costume, the dancer takes on a new identity. This is a Gurwando mask, Gurwando, from Burkina Faso, used for funeral ceremonies, and this dancer serves as a guardian or the police of the ceremony. The wood is specially chosen for its shape and its grain. An artist will use an axe called an azde, A-Z-D-E, to carve and chisel away the general shape and then work down into the features, and then a rough leaf is used to sand and smooth the mask. It's usually colored with different materials such as charcoal, mineral pigments, and kaolin, which is actually a powdered clay material. The color white symbolizes death, and the color white links the ancestors to the living in a positive way. It's a positive connotation to see the color white, because usually they're honoring their ancestors, and it helps to bring that connection. Looking in this area that spans Congo, Angola, and Zambia is where the Chokwe people are from. This map of Angola shows some of the Lunda Empire and the different tribal groups within it. The Chokwe were once one of the 12 clans of the Great Lunda Empire during the 17th and 18th century in Angola. Eventually, they became independent when they refused to continue paying tribute to the Lunda Emperor. Their successful trading of wax, rubber, and ivory caused them to be one of the wealthiest groups in Angola until they were colonized by the Portuguese in 1930. By 1900, the Chokwe had dismantled the Lunda Kingdom. They used guns that they had received in trade from the Boa People. Chokwe language and influence then began to dominate the northeastern Angola and spread among the Lunda people. As the war and conflicts grew during the colonial era of the 19th and 20th centuries, both from Europeans from their west and the Swahili Arabs from the east, they militarily responded and expanded further into northern Angola, Congo, and into western Zambia. There are generally 3 types of Chokwe masks: Chihongo and Pwo, which are male and female masks; Chikungu or chief mask; and Chikunza, which are for fertility and hunting. Here's a Chokwe circumcision mask. The concave eye sockets and slits in the eyes are this would be a Chihongo or male mask. It's a Chokwe circumcision mask. The concave eye sockets and slit eyes are common among this type of mask, and it would be used in an initiation ceremony to help bring fertility. The ceremony is meant to help provide sex education. Here's a Po mask. Po masks usually represent ideal female role models. Some masks have white kaolin around the eyes, which may represent the ability to see into the spiritual realm. The hair of the mask is covered with red earth, typical of Chokwe women of Angola. These masks can be based on specific women seen as an ideally beautiful, and show facial scarification. And that's how you might be able to tell the specific woman based on the scarification that might be represented in the mask. And then here's a more elaborate example of body scarification. The mask is worn by a man who dances slowly, embodying female grace. The dancer represents the mother that the boy has been separated from so that he can be reborn into a man. Po mask can also be meant to be viewed by women in a ceremony in order to demonstrate feminine grace and bestow fertility on the women that view them. Chikongu or chief masks are worn by a chief during ritual sacrifices to ancestors and gods meant to bring prosperity. His ringed headdress represents his status. Here's let's move it, see if we can just gonna try and move the slide over, but this is a Mboum helmet mask from the Boa People of the Congo. And this one's a little bit different because it wraps all the way around behind the head. And then here's a chief wearing a mask during a ceremony. Chikunza masks are for fertility and hunting. Its name refers to the grasshopper, while its tall, conical, and ringed helmet refers to the horns of the roan antelope, Roan antelope. Their role is to govern the different phases of the ritual and keep the female world at a distance. And then here are some dancers with their costumes on. Here are some replicas of passport masks. These are usually a lot smaller and they might be worn while traveling as an amulet for protection, and they also could be used as stepping stones for ceremonial purposes to guide folks to the ceremony. And here's a Ngongtang mask, Ngongtang mask, meaning young girl. The mask was used to locate sorcerers or those who misuse spiritual powers, but also to perform at feasts, funerals, celebrations of birth, and on the occasion of an important communal decision. An old face mask for hunting to enhance courage and celebrate victory. Now we'll look at some masks made by different tribes. Think about the style and the shape of the mask. Look at the textures and designs. Yeah, look at contours, the overall shape. And how the different details are used. some of the patterning, some of the repetition that works together to create unity or to kind of guide your eye around. Yeah, really interesting shapes happening here. And abstracted and simplified. Here's a buffalo mask. Here's another mask from Cameroon. This one has kind of an interesting hair or hat structure on it. And look at how this sort of headdress shape is created by a bunch of small, tiny masks within the mask. You might be able to build your mask modularly with different small parts that you put together to create some aspect of it. These figures coming across the top. Really kind of complex, but also legible at the same time. Some nice negative space happening. The shape's not too complex here, but it has kind of this nice neck piece to it that becomes more complex. And it's all still legible because this kind of central area is simple. It gives your eye a little bit of a rest after you look at some of this more complex area here. Really interesting sort of crown headdress shape here. Simplified features, kind of looking at real facial features and abstracting and simplifying them, abstracting and simplifying the hair, stacking different parts together. More of kind of a monster look, something a little more intense. And that's the end of the presentation.